When you look at stepping up to that next position and you go talk to somebody about what it is that you want to do, and they ask you, who are you? What do you end up doing? Listing all of your credentials and the things that you have done in the past? Or do you really know who you are and the benefit of a brand? Today, I am excited to have Rich Keller here, who has been a brand expert for some of the biggest companies in the world, and now is the catalyst to help people discover their one word, their purpose-driven mission. So, Rich, it is so exciting to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I am grateful to be here. I'm the luckier one.
So, Rich, what led you on this path to developing a one-word idea of brands?
I'll try to make this story really quick and not so long. Really, I was in my kitchen one day and my son was applying to college. And he had said to me, I need some help on my alumni interviews. And because I do brand marketing in the corporate world at the time, I said, sure. And I asked him one question that changed my life and his life. I said, Zach, tell me about yourself. And he looked at me and he was starting to tell me all the things he does. I'm a high school senior. I like baseball. I love video games. And I looked at him and I said, you don't know who you are? And he said to me, Dad, they don't teach us how to answer that in high school. And I had this light bulb moment where in the corporate world, all the corporate brands I worked on at Kraft, Nabisco, Cadbury, Godiva, I had this philosophy called the one word. And I would craft the identity of all the brands I worked on in one word. And the one word is your core value, what you give away to the world to improve the lives of others. And my light bulb moment in front of Zach was, wait a minute. People are brands. We are bought and sold every day. Maybe I can transform this philosophy on people. I did not know how to do it at the time. And I worked with him. I worked with him for a couple of weeks. And we came up with his core value of perseverance. He's a perseverer. And then he wrote an outstanding college essay, basically telling the committee how he lives his life as a perseverer and how he's going to help the college he goes to be a better school because he's going to bring his core value to that institution. And he got into Cornell University and I mean, he was in the pile. I certainly don't have magic to get people into college, but he was in the pile and they really understood what he was going to bring. And that was my light bulb moment where I literally quit my career. I walked out of a very successful corporate career and I said, you know what? I want to help people discover who they are because most people define themselves by what they do. Their identity is in their job, like me. And every time I lost my job, I lost my identity until I realized that tell me about yourself is really asking, tell me how you add value, Nancy. And that's my story. That's my story.
I love that. I love how your son inspired this and you married your corporate experience, your corporate knowledge with helping your son step up as to who he is. And I think you've probably set him on a path for life that he will enjoy and be able to show up as his true self over and over again.
It's interesting that you say that because I have a TED Talk out on this. And during the TED Talk writing process, one of the things I realized is your one word does two things for people, and it's really critical. One of them is it's the thread that allows you to tell your entire story through that thread. So people remember very little in life. You know, we get hit with a million messages, and it becomes the thread that you're going to remember. My one word is catalyst. You're going to remember that about me. And then number two is exactly what you just said. It becomes the compass so that you can evaluate in the future opportunities. And the goal is if what you end up doing is in alignment with who you are, because I believe who you are is your core value. If you align those two, the compass is right and you're more apt to be successful, happy, fulfilled, purpose-driven. So it's really incredible that you brought that up because that is the compass. And I could tell you the reason why I feel so strongly about that is because after college, I'm a catalyst, I'm a disruptor. I went into accounting for 5 years. That is the worst place to put a catalyst But I didn't know that. And my parents were like, you have a job, you're making all this money. And what I didn't realize is that what I was doing was not in alignment with who I am. And therefore, I ended up leaving, obviously. But that compass is really important for people that really want to direct their magic, their core value to something that is worthwhile so people can benefit, help others win.
Yeah. And what I just heard you say is you were not aligned in your career. And so everybody who's watching this is looking about what is my next promotion? What is my next step? And we got a couple speakers who are going to talk about, are you aligned in your career? But I think what Rich brings and what you bring is so powerful in starting with figuring out where's your compass. What is it that's going to set the path of where you want to go? And so as you start to work with people on helping them develop their compass, maybe we can play a little bit. If you were to help me find my compass, what would you start with? Like, what is it that you would do?
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about the program that I put people through. And then I want to actually, if it's okay with you, I want to do a brand example that everybody knows, because I think it'll really help people that are listening. You know, what is he talking about? But the first thing is, what I do is I put people through a program. It's basically a mini diary. It is 11 questions, 5 steps. But the questions, not that I will go through all of them, but the questions are all about you. Questions like, what are you great at? What makes you come alive? Once again, I'm looking for the thread in all those answers. What did you want to be when you were a little child? Because I believe you're born with your core value. And I see a lot of correlation between what you wanted to be as a kid when the world wasn't at you yet, and then what happens when society gets a hold of you. I will also tell you, besides, you know, there's many other questions on accomplishments. What did you learn from them? Advice people turn to you for. But the one question that is so critical, and this is an exercise in self-reflection. So while you're self-reflecting, the last question is to reach out to 5 people that you know super well, to ask them to write what makes you unique. Because the problem is, we all believe that we're not unique unless we have letters after our names, certain degrees, colleges, towns we live in. And the people that you know super well, I don't care who they are, they're going to tell you, and people cry over that answer when I work with them, because they're like, oh my God, I didn't know I have value without a job or without degrees, because you got to look within for the win.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really powerful. That's really, that makes me think. Although I have to laugh, because when you said, what did you want to be when you grew up? I actually wanted to be a pathologist, because my theory in medicine is they were already dead. I couldn't make that any worse, but I could figure out what led to it. So it's just kind of...
You know what? I find a lot of, I mean, it's not an exact science, but there is a lot of correlation, because when society gets a hold of us, Nancy, we're conditioned to believe that what we do is who we are. And then we have a moment where, oh my God, I don't have that job title anymore, or that leadership position. And then what you realize is, no, who I am is what I bring to the world. It's the value or the core value, I say. Yeah. And if you look within your core, I can help you. Basically, this diary, then the 5 steps to your one word, I'm basically pulling out, I'm a catalyst. I'm disrupting that whole diary, and I'm getting you to one word. And I have to tell you, I love when people challenge me. They say, come on. And then when I'm done with them, they're like, oh my God, that core value. You are right. Yeah. I'm like, you did the work. You gave me the ingredients. I just give you a cake at the end.
Right. And it did cause me to think about words that align with me. So curiosity being one of them. I'm like, okay, that's probably the connection with my childhood.
Could be.
So you said you wanted to give us an example.
Yes.
Something that helps it relate this.
Yes, because when I'm on stages and I speak and I take people on a journey, and what I do is I start with a couple of brands, and I'm going to do one today only, and I take them on the journey of the brand, and then they wake up and they go, oh my God, I got it. So the brand is, when I'm on stage, first thing I do as soon as I walk up, I show them couple of brands, but the one brand today we're going to focus on is the Apple brand. I tell
Mhm.
people, write down the first word that comes to your mind when you see this logo, Apple. Don't overthink it. And they write it on a piece of paper. And then I explain to them my story about the core value, the concept. And then I come back to that and I tell people, okay, let's ask the audience shout out some of the words that you wrote. And people write technology, phone, computer, expensive. And I expect people to tell me either the category, they tell me technology, or they name one of the products. And then when I
Right.
tell them about the core value, which is what does Apple, core value is, what are you giving away to the world to help others win? And then at the end, I pick a person from the audience and I say, okay, now what do you think that Apple is really selling? And through the interactive, what I get them to is always they talk about Steve Jobs. Something Steve comes up, and I'm like, oh,
Right.
tell me about him. Tell me about him. And when they start
Yeah.
telling me, they usually say, he always wore that, I think, black thing, turtleneck, black and jeans. And I'm like, why do you think he wore that outfit? And then they look at me and they go, it's a simple wardrobe. I'm like, well, Apple's core value is simplicity. They are selling you simplicity. And the reason that they are able to do that effectively is because when Steve was alive, he was in front of the brand on every stage. He had many clothes in his closet, but he was telling you through his wardrobe, we sell simplicity. We make technology effortless. And then all of a sudden the audience goes, oh my God, I never thought of that. You're right. And that's the concept of a core value in one word. And it came from Steve and he gave it to Apple. And so
Yeah.
our job is to take our core value and give it to the job, the company, the people in our lives. And I do a lot of different brands, but that is where the eyes open and they go, I wonder what my one word is. What am I selling? What's my core value? And that's it.
Yeah.
And that's the example that I work with on
Yeah.
people.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And simplicity is true, right? Like he was like, how do I just get to one button that does everything?
Yeah.
How do I? He was very much about simplicity from that perspective.
And
So
and
true.
then what's important in building your brand, and when they in an interview, is if you look at the Apple brand, it's very clean, white background, the
Mhm.
edges are very soft, like they dress the brand in simplicity. Like the
Yeah.
brand is not the logo and the name and the product, that's just dressing the
Mhm.
elements of the brand. But overall, you want to, in your identity, tell people, you want people to see your identity as your one word. And when you look at
Yeah.
Apple, they're like, it is really simple. You're right. And I didn't make it up. And by the way, Steve passed, but guess what? Apple's still simplicity. No,
Yeah.
your core value doesn't change. And the company was smart enough to know that's who we are at our core. We are about
Right.
simple, effortless technology.
Yes. Yeah, that's so powerful. So now let's take that and relate that to someone looking to get promoted and how they can use this concept
Sure.
to help them in their promotion journey or find the role that's excellent for them.
Sure. Well, all you need, I mean, very simply, just to, say, without a lot of detail behind it, if you're, let's say you work with me, and let's say that you decide that, or we decide together that you're a transformer. You transform
Yeah.
things. And the whole goal is that, number one, it's going to tell you whether the next job you're looking for really aligns with you. Because if you're not able to transform in that job, chances are you're not going to be at your best. So the goal
Right.
would be, if you find a job in the company or a new job where you are, my core value, that job requires transformation. Then your job is and I say this very candidly, tell them what your core value is in one word. Open up your interview. Tell me about yourself. Well, I'm going to start with what I give away to help others win. And then while you're saying transformer, you're also telling them your story in the context of your one word. So tell me about things that you transformed in your previous world so that I start believing credibly that, wow, that is something you are able to do. And then tell me how that job, or this job that we're hiring for, tell me how you're going to use that transformation core value and make that company better. And I can guarantee, I mean, I've had people call me and they're like, oh my God, that worked. They remembered my one word. And that's the point. tie yourself to the output of the company and show them that you are the person that is going to be able to do that job excellently because my core value is what's needed to make that job win.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
That's key. And the higher up the corporate ladder you get, the more important it is for you to lead from that core value, because that sets the culture. As you just showed with Steve Jobs and Apple, it sets the culture. It sets the mindset. And so I'm so excited to learn more.
One thing one thing I think it's important for your listeners to, I also tell people is, and people, you can write this down. This is a writer downer.
As our coach says, a writer downer.
Right. As our coach says, right. Credentials are credibility, not identity. This is really powerful. Credentials are credibility, not identity. Meaning, I do not care if you've never worked a day in your life. If you are a transformer and you believe that you can transform that job that's in front of you, but if you need a credential to tell me either, like, for example, I have 25 years of brand marketing experience. I have an MBA in marketing, but that's credibility. Oh, great. That means he can help people in branding and be a catalyst. That is not my identity. And that's where people mess up, because they think their identity is the letters and the accolades and the awards. But you know what? That goes away very quickly. That's not who you are, but that could be something that you need for credibility, for people in the audience to go, you know what? That guy really can probably get me to my one word because he knows how to do branding. He has the credentials to do that. So I think it's really, I help people make a distinction between that, because that's when people wake up and they go, oh, so I don't really need all these things in the outside world to prove who I am. No, look within, but you may need them for credibility.
Wow. And on that note, what is your one word? What is your identity that you show up with every day that is powerful, that allows you to have the energy to do the job that you love, to do the position that you are meant to be?
Yeah. Well, my one word is catalyst. It's right behind me. Okay.
Yeah.
And very simply, I introduce myself as Rich Keller, the catalyst. But what I do is I help people disrupt. They think about themselves. Okay. I help them simplify their identity down to one word. So I disrupt the way you think, and I'm going to take everything you tell me and we're going to work together, but I'm disrupting all of that to help you communicate with clarity who you are in one word. Because you know this, Nancy, most people, I mean, we're hit with everything, millions of messages, but clearly with clarity, conviction, and confidence. So I'm a catalyst, and what I'm doing now is I give away my catalyst core value to help other people disrupt their workbook and everything about them, and I get you to one word, and then you can go and have a happy life. And you're always going to remember now, looking at other brands, you're going to wonder what that brand's one word is. And that's the fun part. That's the fun part of my platform.
Definitely. And to me, just even looking at other people, what is the one word of the different people I work with, the different leaders in my organization, the different people who I want to pull up the organization? I think this is such a cool concept. I am so glad, Rich, we've had the chance to meet and get to know each other.
I'm so grateful, because really, I just want everybody who's listening to think they are brands. Personal branding, the word personal branding is like, sort of like big in the world now. And like, what is that? Is it all about me? No, personal branding is, how do you help others win? How do you personally help others win? So just go tell people how you do it, but do it in a really simple, fast, quick way, so people can stop in their tracks and go, wow, you're a catalyst. Tell me more. In an elevator, I had people like, I do that, like, I live my brand. People will say, what do you mean, what's catalyst? And I'm like, let's have coffee and I'll tell you more. But that's the goal. You want to compel them to stop in their track, get attention. We're learning this, you and I. You want to grab the show. So I try to do that in one word.
Awesome. So if people want to start down the process of finding their one word, how do they get a hold of you, Rich? And what tool are you offering today as part of this event?
Well, first thing I'm going to encourage everybody to do is go watch my TED Talk. Okay, you can find it on YouTube, just Rich Keller TEDx, and it'll come up. But that's number one, because I think it'll give you a good perspective as well. And then number two, I'm offering a free 30-minute call. All those words rhyme. A free 30-minute call, and I will put the link below. And I encourage anybody that wants to continue the conversation. No question. Every question is game. Nothing's off limits. Brands, you want to talk to me, I'd be more than happy to give you more information about it and really help you maybe just think about deeper, what is that core value I give away to the world, and hopefully make your life a little simpler as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And my question for you is, what is your one word?
Thank you very much for having me.